So what you're going to need is one football, another with a tail. It's a little bit larger. That's why we're going to use two different ones. A pot, clearly. We're going to need some styrofoam as well from the Dollar Tree. All of these things are from the Dollar Tree. And, well, not the sticks. You can get those from outside. We're going to need some nails, but not those. These, from the Dollar Tree. All in all, this whole thing should cost you maybe $5 or $6 at the end of the build. So we're going to start off with a standard box cutter. I mean, you can use anything that'll pretty much cut through the foam clean. You want to make sure it's sharp though, so you don't have any cleanup after. So you want to cut through the middle where the two colors meet, or the best you can. Keeping in mind that the deeper you cut, the more the mouth will be able to open. The more shallow your cut, the less it will open. Or you don't have to cut it at all. You can keep your mouth closed. It's completely up to you. But here I'm going to cut as far back as I can get without, separating the two halves. But in the event that you do separate them by mistake, you can use something like a clothespin, a wooden clothespin or something to just, keep that angle. So it's something to keep in mind. Once you've got that cut, you can move on. So after you've gotten things all cut, you're going to need to start painting the inside of this. There's no right and wrong way to do this here. I've done one with a sponge. I'm doing this one here with a flat brush. As long as you pretty much get, really good coverage, and keep in mind that you're painting into a sponge, so be a little bit liberal with your paint, or it'll take forever to dry, even with a heat gun. Because that's what I did. As dark as possible because the teeth are going to be white and it'll create pretty good contrast as well. I mean, you can paint a tongue in there or possibly make one out of foam. Just other ideas to get yourself inspired by. But here we're just going to do solid black to keep it simple for you and the kiddies. Now that we've got our paint all dry, we're going to move on to actually painting the first plant. Here I'm just going to get some base coverage, just move around. I'm not really worried about removing the paint and touching it or streaks or whatever have you. I'm going to move in the same direction to remove brush strokes though, because this is the base coat. So once I get that all squared away, I'm going to move on to putting this on styrofoam instead of a pedestal. I use a lot of sprays on my pedestal, so it's got a lot of dust on it. I didn't want to pick anything up. Moving forward, I'm going to be using a glove because it started getting kind of messy. Here I've tinted the paint with a little bit of black to get a little bit more coverage because I'm using apple barrel paint and it's a little thin. Plus I didn't prime it, so that's another thing. If you guys prime this, your process will be a lot easier. But for the sake of, again, keeping things simple, I'm just going to go straight in and paint. But normally I prime everything. It's much better. So here you can see the tint's a little darker. Here's where I put a little bit black in there, just to start giving a little bit more contrast and getting better coverage because the opacity is a little high on this paint. So now we're going to start using a heat gun. I'm using Wagner, low settings, as you're painting onto foam, and the paint will start to bubble if you get too close, even on low heat. High heat, you'll start cooking the paint, you'll start warping the football, and you'll have to start over unless, you know, that's the look you're going for. Just try and keep the heat moving. You don't really want to set it in one spot. The paint will bubble, I promise. Keep your coverage even. And if you plan on doing highlights or anything, you can start, you know, plotting those out now, or even starting to add those in because the piece itself is starting to take shape. You're going to want to just repeat this process until you have it looking the way you want it to look. Just get a layer going, heat gun, get a layer going, and just keep moving until it looks to how you want it to. Here's about where I'm going to stop because it's getting pretty dark. And, this is the look I was going for the first plant. Now that the paint's all dry and the layers are in, to move on to the mouth. I'm using a detail brush here. I'm also using a this is Liquitex. It's a heavy body paint, so you're going to want to cut it with something if that's what you're using. But again, any red paint will do. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it's what I had on hand, and I put tint. Now, things should really start to, you know, take shape by now. It's starting to really look like something, so we're going to start getting the nails going and cut those. This is a little tedious, a little repetitive, but you can use the different sizes for different, you know, shapes. You can cut them in half. I pretty much cut them all to points and just allocated them accordingly. You can pretty much do what you want here, though, again. Okay, now that we got that all squared away, we're going to move on to a little bit more of a trickier part. We're going to now thread the plant itself with one of our sticks from outside. Again, you don't have to use these. You can use a dowel rod or anything else that'll, you know, go through, but keep in mind this is also going to dictate how open the mouth is on your plant. So you want to make sure the angle's correct or you won't be able to get the mouth open the way you want it to. I really can't say enough good things about this little knife. It came in really handy on this project. I haven't used it for much else. I've had it for quite some time. I believe it's a Fisker's blade. I don't know the exact name of it, but I've had it for a long time. So I cracked it open and decided to use it here. It worked really, really well. So if you don't have one, you might want to look into it. I'll see if I can add a link in the description. So now that you've got your hole cut and you're threading the stick through, you're going to see as I push it through here now, you can immediately just get the mouth to open once it's through. It'll push it straight up and you can control how open or closed the mouth is. I'm going to put it about here, and you can even paint the stick black if you want. You want to go back in and paint it. I didn't do that. So all of those nails that you cut up before, we're going to now start cutting small slits in the inside of the mouth. You may not need glue. Mine was pretty tight because of the way I painted it, so I don't really glue them. You can if you want to, but it depends on what kind of glue you use as well, because I'm pretty sure hot glue will show up. So again, it's a preference thing here. There's no right and wrong way to do this. This part here is a little tedious. I will tell you that right now. It's a little time consuming and it's a little tedious because sometimes you have to double check the slit that you made, and even then the nail may or may not fit depending upon how wide the base is, so you may have to go in once or twice. But again, like I said, this little knife was a lifesaver here. You can use a regular box cutter or any kind of straight razor, but this seemed to work the best. It has a little finger loop for control. I didn't use it, but you know, that's what it's for. We're just about done now, and it's looking pretty good already, as you can see in a second. Yeah, there it is. So it's looking pretty good, and now we're gonna have to start moving on to filling the pot, the styrofoam. You can, again, this is a preference thing. You can have it as low or as high into the plant if you want, because we're gonna use some moss and other things later, so it really doesn't matter. I cut mine almost to the brim. I would say maybe an inch below. You can put it where you want, but I used it at that height because I knew how much moss I would use. So now you're ready to thread your first stick through the pot. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to plot where it goes. Using a little knife, you can just pop it on out. And from there, you're going to want to secure it once it's through with some hot glue or something else. But it'll stay in there pretty good. I didn't do too much securing work. I didn't do anything on the inside of the pot. That was pretty much the length of how far I went. I just, you know, put a little hot glue around the stick to make sure it didn't move. And then moved on to the second plant. Here I'm going to free the football from the actual tail. I cut around it to make sure it came out a little bit freer. You can pretty much pull it right out, but I just didn't want to risk damaging it. So again, same process. We're going to just, you know, cut the mouth open and figure out where we want to go from there, how wide we want it, or not. Again, you don't have to cut into it if you want the mouth open. Now that that's done, we're going to paint. I threw a little bit of white and yellow in this one. Again, it's apple barrel paint. I'm not sure which color. I believe this is the moss one, but I put a couple of different colors in here. So we're just gonna go for maximum coverage again. I put it on, made this paint a little bit thicker so I can speed the process up because it was a little lengthy last time. And again, it's just DIY. So at the end of it, you don't have to go super ballistic with it. Okay, so being that I decided that the larger plant was going to be the more adult one, clearly, I figured I'd give this one a little bit more character to it, and I mixed a couple of greens and just lightly dab it to give it a little bit more of a lifelike effect and just a little bit more age on it as well. You can use this technique with as many colors as you want, really, and as you layer, you'll see it'll look a lot more lifelike. Again, I tried to keep this as simple as possible because this is to be done with kids and you want to have a little bit of fun here, but as you can see, it's starting to fill in the gaps and take shape. So now I'm just going to throw a little bit more yellow using the same technique. I'm just going to wipe on some yellow and then just wipe it off. Dabbing in certain areas, just making sure I want it where I need it, color to pop more, and where I don't want it to pop, I'll just completely wipe that off. This can be done with pinks and purples and blues as well. Again, it's completely up to you. Dry, we let it set for a second. I'm going to grab some purple real quick and I'm going to just stipple in some purple. Just going to flick the purple onto the plant. Might not be that noticeable, but once you do it in person, you'll see. Then you can just rub it in a little bit and just give it a little bit of a highlight. And it looks really good. So now we're going to move on from there. And we're going to grab some red. This is the Liquitex Heavy Body I've been using. And this time I'm not going to take such a neat approach. I'm going to use a sponge and I'm not cutting the paint this time. And I'm just going to run it along the seam and just, let the brush do what it's going to do just to give it a more bloody effect. And again, you don't have to do this, but I just felt this had more of a character to the plant. It's a little older. You can use this technique with a sponge pretty much as you want. I'm going to stop about here, maybe a 1/4 inch outside the lining of the mouth where it opens on both ends. I'm going to dab it a little bit with a paper towel that's damp. And that's pretty much it for here. I kind of like the way it came out. Got the mouth opening. These are the leaves I'm going to use. It's a garland from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to cut up a little piece here and there and glue them accordingly because we have that gaping hole in the back of the plant. So I'm just going to fill that and give it the effect of having an actual stem. I'm going to do this on the first plant as well, but it's more prominent here, so we're going to take care of that because we need to cover that up so no one can see it, or at least it's out of plain view initially, you know. Next, it's time for the moss. I'm using Spanish moss that I got from the Dollar Tree. And it's pretty much up to you where you place this. You just want to make it look as organic as possible. I'm going to throw a little skull I got in there from the Dollar Tree, and we're finished. So this is how mine came out. And I'm only using 2, you can use 3, 4. Just keep in mind that these things have a little weight to them, and you're going to have to counterbalance them. But have fun, and like, comment, subscribe, stick around for the next one.